Welcome back again, and I hope that the most recent break was very helpful for you guys. We are moving into the final stretch now. We're moving on to the second section of the presentation, to the principles of business. So we're going to speak about some basic concepts, and then we're going to begin planning for the future. So this is sort of a little framework that we have come up with to sort of help move you through the process. It's broken up into a number of parts, starting with issue definition, then talking about guiding principles, doing some analysis, looking at market insights, doing some team building, then moving on to financial planning and marketing. Now, we explore this more fully in our business plan writing course, which is also offered at iSpace. So I'd recommend that you speak to the iSpace staff about that if you're interested. But here we're going to do a very high-level overview. Again, it's related to financial management, but not specifically financial management. So looking at issue definition, this is really sort of the basic and beginning process when you are trying to start a business. You begin to think about things like access, scope, and competition. So this really builds out to speak about what kind of problem have you identified, because every product or service that is provided by somebody is meant to service a particular need or solve a particular problem that exists in the world. So Start Smart, for example, is solving the problem of inadequate access to tools to help people manage their finances. Then sort of another thing that you want to consider in this issue definition stage is really focusing on how you plan to make your particular solution available to the customers that you see using the solution. Another thing is sort of at a very high level, being able to think about how many people are actually impacted by the problem that you think exists, and then out of all of those people, how many do you think that you can reach? So the assumption is that even though there may be 1 million people in the world, for example, that need shoes, if you're a shoe manufacturer, you're not going to reach all of those millions of people who need the shoes. It's really focusing on sort of what markets you have access to, what's closest to you, or what do you have the actual ability to be able to service. Do you have the capability to service a market in China? Well, then by all means go ahead. But if you don't have the shipping and the logistics in place to be able to do that, then maybe it means that your market is just in Ghana, and sort of realizing who in Ghana you can be able to impact. Then moving on to the last part of it, which is competition. By and large, the ideas that we come up with are not 100% innovative. We, for the most part, don't come up with new ideas from scratch all the time. We just think of ways in which we can make them even better. So to be a successful business, you need to know who your competition is and how you're different from them. So the next section talks about guiding principles. And here you think about your mission, your vision, and your product concept. So your mission really informs sort of, what is it that your business was set up to do. Your mission stays really consistent over time because, your business, unless you sell it or you decide to, team up with another company to become one company, your mission pretty much stays the same. So Start Smart's mission is to provide business and financial management tools to entrepreneurs. So that's always going to be the same. Now, vision, though, is a bit more of a fluid concept. So your vision grows and develops as your business grows, but it's very strongly tied to your mission. So your vision is where you see your business going. So, let's say Start Smart, if we want to be optimistic and, really forward-thinking, say that we want to be the premier financial management software for businesses in Africa, or we want to have, 1 million users at a given point in time. So your vision really speaks to sort of where you want your business to be. And it's able to change over time because, things in the environment around you might change. You may meet that goal and want to begin thinking of other goals. And then your concept, that's your product concept. So looking at sort of what are the various products or services that make up your business. It may just be one thing. It may just be provisions. In our case, we have our books and publications that we do. We have our training sessions. We have the online portal. That's all part of our product concept. And then looking at analysis. Analysis here really looks at sort of testing your business to see how strong your idea really is. So there's industry analysis. One model in particular that I'm fond of is the Porter's 5 Forces model. If you have a moment, you can take some time to do a quick Google search of it. But what that really focuses on is sort of the power that your suppliers have over you. Are they able to bargain on prices more, or are you able to bargain on prices more? The power that your customers have. Again, can they bargain on prices more, or do you have more of an upper hand when it comes to setting the price? Then looking at the threat of new people coming into your market. Is it really easy for new businesses to do the same thing that you're doing? Going back to the example of the 2 kiosks on my street that I spoke about, they're all selling provision. They're all just using basic kiosks or small tables. So it's easy for someone to enter that market. Then the threat of substitute products. Can somebody come up with something that meets the same need as what you already have? So, for example, what's a good example? Let's say people are not picky about the kind of food they eat. They just want to be full. So you make rice, for example, and then somebody else decides to make yam. Depending on what people's preferences are, they may see the yam as a perfectly good substitute for rice and go and buy that instead. And then looking at sort of, the competitive rivalry within the competition that exists within your industry. So when you pull all of these components that we've talked about together, sorry about that, where does it really lead you? Please ignore that just popped up there. Where does it really lead you and your business? And then, apart from talking about sort of an industry-wide analysis model, we're also going to look at a more specific one to your business. So looking at your business in isolation. And the model that I like to use for that is SWOT analysis. So that stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So strengths, looking at what your business's strong points are. Weaknesses, looking at potential disadvantages to you as a business. Opportunities, where are the areas in which your business can grow? And then looking at the threats. What are sort of potential things in the future that might cause problems for you? So overall, looking at what the industry sort of analysis looks like and looking at what the more isolated business analysis looks like, you can kind of give yourself a very rough type of score to see where you stand. So are you doing well? Are you doing poorly? Or, is this business just a bad idea? And then looking at market insights. So we've talked a lot about you validating on your own how well the business can do, but you need to confirm it by actually talking to the people that you plan to sell your product or service to. So you need to go and speak with them and confirm that indeed whatever need that you have identified really does exist and they really do want to be able to solve that problem. Because a lot of the time you may think a need exists and people really don't care or are not interested. You then need to be able to find out from them sort of what the value of the particular product or service is, or if there are different attributes or qualities to it, what sort of value do they put on each of those qualities? And then you need to identify your method. So you can do it by, going on the ground and speaking to people. You can, send out surveys. There are a whole number of ways in which you can get to know your market and your customers a little bit better. And then team building. This can be a very challenging aspect of being an entrepreneur, determining who your partners are, really looking at what everybody brings to the table and what qualifies somebody to be a partner, looking at your employees. How do you make sure that when you've hired somebody, that's an extra expense for you? So how are you making sure that you're realizing whatever sort of financial returns you should? And then sort of, survivors, we are really looking at sort of, who are those people sort of overall that will just stand the test of time and really be those sort of fundamental and key parts of your business. It's a funny term to use, but as you sort of begin to explore the world of entrepreneurship a little bit more, really looking at, hey, who are those people that I can count on day in, day out? Those are my survivors. And they can be your partners, they can be particular employees, they can even be people within your network of suppliers. And then going on to financial planning. So we've spoken quite a bit about this in the presentation that we've done, but again, really sort of looking at it from a time perspective. So looking at your past records, what have you done in the past? How have you improved upon it? Present, what are you doing to maintain your records right now, and where are you doing well or not doing so well? And then looking at the past and the present to make informed choices about the future. So based on what you've seen in the past, based on what's going on now, what do you think is going to happen in the future? What can you predict? If you're trying to set a budget for next year for your business, based on what's already happened, what kind of budget are you going to set? And then the last piece is looking at marketing. So there's the online component, so things like social media and paying for Google ads and Facebook ads. There's the offline component, the traditional flyers and TV and radio advertisements. And then there is something sort of more referred to as a contact type of marketing. And the way that I describe contact marketing is sort of looking at individual people that you think that you can form a strong relationship with, potential customers. So those are your key contacts, and those contacts then go ahead and, serve as points of referral or sort of market your product within their network indirectly. So those are sort of the different foundational and structural type things that are important when you begin to think beyond sort of, we talked a little bit about the role that financial statements play in forming a business plan or trying to make a case for an investor. Well, this is the kind of structure that you would want to put in place. So you take those financial statements that you've maintained, and then you begin to build it out into a larger roadmap or a larger plan for your particular business. So I want you guys to stop again for 15 minutes. I want you to take some time to sort of think through each of these things individually first. And then once you've done that, go back to the teams that you worked with earlier on and bounce your ideas off of one another briefly. You can't do it completely, again, because it's 15 minutes that you're spending to do it. But it should be, let's spend 10 minutes instead. Because we should be getting close to our hour mark. So let's spend 10 minutes doing that instead, which means that it may be more appropriate to just do this part on your own. And then, really sort of assess and see where you stand or what your thinking is. So we will see you guys in a few minutes.